They say that some stories will tear us apart. But this story is different. It's about a community coming together.
There's something going on down in Pulaski, over at the Calfee School. Folks got to talking, and they started asking if we all see that this is wrong. Can we all agree that the time for change is good?
Calfee Training School was a segregated school. The school served as a center, a hub for a lot of activities and a lot of cultural life for the African American community in those days. And we're trying to bring that back, that purpose.
We're really addressing the community needs at every level. Our Lena Huckstep Community Kitchen, our Broadno Baker event space, the Harmon Learning Center, some natural outdoor play space, and the Sankofa Trail. The front of the building is being renovated right now to be the African American Heritage Center. And over to the side, it will also be the Dorothy DeBerry Digital Learning Lab.
It's going to be a place where folks are going to want to come. It's going to gain a reputation, and people are going to hear about it and want to come here. And when they come here, I think the story we tell and the way we tell the story, the history, it's going to be first class.
Like the original Calfee School, we are creating a space where everybody feels comfortable. Feels like they belong. Everybody being involved in helping design the programs not only helps us create wonderful programs and wonderful spaces, but it also helps us to build up community leadership capacity beyond the small range of community leaders who normally represent us. The 2354 Project has not only been a way for us to honor the 23 Black families who risked everything, it's also been a great way for our whole community to remember that there was a time for 2 decades when 200 Black parents were showing up at school board meetings. And many of these families ended up signing on to a lawsuit for better educational opportunities for Black children. They persevered and they ended up winning. And that win ended up leading to desegregation of schools nationally. What we hope is that we can learn from this and that we can hopefully be inspired to act a little bit differently in the face of present day injustices.
"2354, wait, what does that mean?"
So the 2354 Project is about the 23 parents and 54 children in the Pulaski versus Corbin case, which was about the Pulaski Black school children and their parents fighting for better school conditions.
They didn't have the same resources or facilities that the white students did.
The lawsuit was an equalization of rights lawsuit that actually predated Brown versus Board of Education. So the 2354 Project is working to document and identify the lives of the people that were involved and their descendants.
Cataloging the histories, personal interest histories, but also like the facts of those involved in the lawsuit.
With this particular group with the 2354 Project, they all had some amount of experience doing some like academic research. We had a list of names, and that was the full list from the transcript back in the late 1940s. We really emphasized newspapers to start. And then after that, we got more into the personal information. We went back generations to see how far we could go back. And then it was the process of taking that forward and seeing how far forward we can link the people from the case and the past to the present.
We put pieces of families together. You know, we didn't realize how the families were connected. A lot of them are related, you know, cousins and aunts and uncles type thing. And a lot of the family members had no idea what we were talking about. We let them know that we wanted to know about their family, and we wanted to celebrate their accomplishments, and wanted to make this a part of what's the quilt designed for the different family members.
I asked Mom about it, and you weren't aware of it.
I'd never even heard about the Calfee school or anything about that. Like, I knew that school had burnt down, but I didn't know the history behind it. To find out that my granddad was a part of something so major, like just all the stories of the people involved in this story, I would have never known.
To hear the story, yeah, didn't know about it, but to understand that he was involved was not surprising at all. That he would stick his name out there.
I had learned a little bit from going to the first initial meeting about the quilt. I did learn a lot from the fact I did not know that most of my grandparents didn't go to college at all, or I did not know that some of them did not even complete high school. This quilt can tell me more about my family.
Teachers and students at Pulaski County School Board for equal
Hey!
But we created the Finley block, which was turned into a monument with your grandmother Anne.
Oh my gosh,
So
this
I
is fire! Mind blowing to me, because like I never knew that like my family was like passionate about. You know what? Period. Yeah, my family did that.
So last fall, we were able to host these series of workshops.
We met early on with members from Calfee, as well as the research team, and some quilters from the Draper Quilt and Art Collective. And we brainstormed ideas about how this might play out.
What went through a few iterations where we were brainstorming on a project that could be accessible, could be completed within one day, and then could be translated to a different art form. So thinking about when we were bringing the descendants together, a way that they could be engaged without feeling like they were doing something wrong. Just getting into the material, being free, and having an experience of creating art around people that you care about.
And the quilters were very helpful in telling us what was possible and what would be difficult to do.
We came to the conclusion that we could use these paper squares and allow the different family members to congregate and just brainstorm a little bit about what makes their family unique.
I think the hardest part for them was, that they may not be artists. We tried to help them think more at the conceptual level. Some of the families had lots of singers, so we represented that with different kinds of aspects of music.
I think the idea of having different blocks for each family, but then also creating it cohesively between the different fabrics that were involved, the repeating motifs, always including the family's name, always including these kind of paper artifacts from the lawsuit that occurred. It kind of matched the vision that I was seeing when we first thought, especially seeing the fabrics together and the idea of a crazy quilt.
When you think about quilting as an art form, it was a domestic art form that women did. They were creating something oftentimes together, and anytime you get a marginalized group together talking, that's potential for change. All quilts tell some kind of a story. It's a birthday, it's a marriage, it's the story of a family, it's the same kind of quilting that your mother had done. So it's making visible and it's archiving and telling history, women's histories or Black histories that were excluded from typical archives.
So this group came together through another quilting group that we all belong to, and when this project became a request of the group, the subgroup just joined together to work on the quilt.
This was not a simple undertaking. The families said what they wanted to put on it, and it wasn't simple to do it. It's been a lot of handwork, a lot of sewing.
Quilt is a group effort. It's almost like a family effort, and it's a way for people to put down their history in something that's going to last forever. And I think it's real important that these stories are told.
This project has helped me to let them know that I appreciate their history. And I respect what they've done, what they've struggled for, and just enjoy doing this and seeing each square that's been made, what the people put in it, their life and their heart.
I'm just glad that people care about things like this because that's history. Like we were told that the slave ladies did it for their slave owners, and that makes me feel very special to be able to do it for a black group. It does. It makes me feel important to help them to get their history out.
Some of the very old examples that we have of quilts that are in museums are done by enslaved labor because, like many of the things that we have, objects from domestic objects were preserved because they weren't used up. A household had enough to circulate them. They weren't used every single day. So a lot of the beautiful examples that we have were from white households, but were actually made from enslaved labor, the very early quilts.
And I think maybe this in a small way will unite Pulaski County.
And either it was Saturday night or Sunday night, Calfee School caught on fire and burned. And so then that left us without a school.
They were actually at Mr. Frank and Miss Alma's house at a party.
This is direct from Mr. Harmon. As soon as they came out of that residence on North Randolph Avenue, they could see a glow in the sky. And as they proceeded downtown, they determined the location of that glow was in the vicinity of Calfee Training School. And the school burned to the ground.
In the summer of 1938, Chauncey Harmon was appointed principal of the Calfee Training School by the Pulaski County School Board. What the school board didn't know at that time was that by then he had already corresponded with Thurgood Marshall of the NAACP about being a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the Pulaski County School Board for equal facilities and for equal salary for black teachers in Pulaski County. Not long, in the fall of 1938, not long after the school board became aware of this impending lawsuit, the Calfee Training School burned down.
Now, a couple of conspiracy theorists say, first of all, the fire department was 2 blocks away, but it took them more than 2 hours to get here to try to contain the fire, which they didn't do. The school burned to the ground. And then the other conspiracy theory is that that maybe someone set fire to the school deliberately. And there are a couple of theories with that. But the reason I mention that because there were 2 black teachers, male teachers that worked at the Calfee Training School who decided to sue the Pulaski County School Board for uneven facilities and uneven salaries. They were Chauncey Harmon and Willis Gravely. And the fire that I alluded to happened to coincidentally start just shortly after the public became aware of this lawsuit.
And the question was always, did they burn the school down? Maybe he burned the school down because he didn't want that to continue.
I remember Chauncey as a great leader, and this is the way I looked at him, because he took at that particular point and stood for that which was right. And that meant a lot to us as students.
Mr. Harmon himself had corresponded with Thurgood Marshall. He had volunteered to be a test case for equal pay here in Virginia. So you're out here in Pulaski, and I certainly don't mean to denigrate or demean Pulaski, but it's not exactly New York City or even Richmond. And yet these people were very much aware of what was going on. They were very much a part of the effort to improve the lot of African Americans. They were challenging the power structure. To use a phrase we hear today, they were speaking truth to power with great regularity. So it wasn't some backwater community. It was a community that was very connected and very knowledgeable about what was going on in the country and in the world.
So at this point, Mr. Harmon is challenging the school board on two fronts. One is this impending court case around equal school facilities and equal teacher salaries, and the other is trying to figure out how he's going to educate this 250 children in the immediate aftermath of the fire.
He immediately moved to find a place for black kids to have school. And they were placed in churches, Masonic lodges, I believe, and other facilities all over town. Took care of that first. And then, not long after that, he launched an effort with the assistance of Dr. Corbin to get a new school built, and to get that school built that would be on par with the white school. But it didn't happen. They did build a new school. They used money from the New Deal to do that, and that's the present Calfee School. It continued under the name Calfee Training School for some time, but it really did not have that prescribed curriculum. The school was only for elementary students. There was no high school department, and that was one of the things that Corbin in particular wanted, and Mr. Harmon wanted too. But the school board would not do that.
Well, once it closed and we had it no longer in the county, I felt like that was a terrible disgrace that they had done. As we didn't have but 2 years of high school at Calfee training. And once that happened, they closed it down, built a smaller school across the street, and did not attempt to build another high school in Pulaski. Just bust you from your home, all the students out of Pulaski and all W River in the county had to be bused to Christiansburg.
So the education continued. But in the springtime, when teaching contracts are issued, Chauncey Harmon and Willis Gravely didn't get contracts, and so they were let go. And so as a result of that, when in the legal system, you have to have, this is a legal concept, a standing to sue, which means you have to, if you're suing somebody, you have to be directly involved in a target disadvantage from the practice that is going on that you're seeking correction. And since they no longer had a job, they were let go, and so the case fizzled out.
At any rate, he lost his job, and the school was built without a high school department. For some length of time it operated that way. And this is where I think the story becomes significant in a national context, and that is that Dr. Corbin sued the Pulaski County School Board eventually because the school board entered into a contract with Christiansburg Institute, Montgomery County, and they sent African American kids at the high school level over there.
But Chauncey stood up too. He really stood up. People in Pulaski owed him a lot too, as well as Gravely. Both those guys know such.
The second litigation that you're referring to would happen about 10 years later. another decade. And the NAACP was the organization still behind this. And Dr. Percy Corbin, Dr. Percy Casino Corbin, had been a black doctor in the Pulaski community because of segregation.
You remember Dr. Corbin as well?
Yeah,
right?
that was the only doctor in town for us. He was the only one that would work on both white and black folks, and he was good at it.
But my daddy, we had a hard time. The officials of Pulaski, they just fired him on there because as long as he was there, he was trying to get more money for the teacher's salary. He was trying to get a better school, anything that would help, better job. And then he said it would be called. You don't go around saying what you think.
The case was called Corbin et al. Now, Dr. Corbin, with the NAACP's blessing, decided it would be better if it was a class action suit. So if it was a group of plaintiffs. And so that's what the Latin phrase et al. Means, and others. And these and others are the parents, the 22 other parents, plus Dr. Corbin makes 23 parents on behalf of 54 children. They were all plaintiffs in the lawsuit, Corbin et al. Versus the County Board of Pulaski County.
The argument that they made focused on the disparity between public education at the Christiansburg Institute and at the all-white Pulaski High School. The black children were forced to make a roughly 60-mile round trip each day to school, and that was far more than for most of the white children at that time. The white leaders argued that some white children in the county endured a similar commute. But Robinson pointed out that the difference was that white children and their parents at least had the option of moving closer to a school building within the county. But black children did not have that option.
We got to ride past how many high schools to get to our high school?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now that's
and
interesting.
a college.
And, yeah. And that's pretty much it. And we didn't think much of it at the time until all of a sudden it got to be big news.
Folks now have more than what they would have, if you think about it. But we used to do a lot of traveling, going back and forth to school. Nowadays, kids just step out of the house and get on the bus. And we had to walk about a mile to catch the bus, then travel back and forth to Christiansburg Institute. It's 28 miles a day we had to go to school.
When my brothers and sisters got older, they went to the 9th grade. It's as high as we could go to the little black school. So they would go to Christiansburg. Took them 4 hours to get there to go to school.
You see, the kids, the black kids that went to Christiansburg, they went on broken down buses that had been discarded for the other students. And they would have to leave home at dark, and they would get back at dark, because most times the buses would break down on the road.
The lawyers also pointed out the disparities in the school plants. So the Institute Science Room, for instance, had no Bunsen burners. It had one sink with 2 faucets. It was really a poor cousin to the well-equipped Pulaski High School. The only equipment in the physical education room was 2 tables that might be used for non-regulation ping pong. And of course, that was a far cry from the fully equipped gymnasium that was at the White High School.
It was a long bus ride on a cold bus. There was no way that the kids could participate in extracurricular activities because the bus had gone by that time. And
in May 1949, the federal district court judge, Alfred Barksdale, ruled against the black plaintiffs in the case. And this is a quote from him. He said, "Public free schools cannot be brought to every man's door."
The school board put forth the argument, well, black kids aren't really being deprived any more than poor white kids are being deprived. Starvation will kill you if you are black or if you are white.
So astonishingly for the time, that case went up to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals A 3-judge panel there, ruling 6 months later, overturned the lower court ruling. And this was one of the early indications that things were beginning to change in the federal judiciary. What the appeals court panel ruled was that there were, quote, rather glaring inequity, it said, between the two schools. And they said, quote, it can hardly be denied that this discrimination is due to race and color.
This is among the first cases that the NAACP wins tackling segregation. And they went after Plessy versus Ferguson because they said separate but equal wasn't working, and the fact that they were being discriminated against violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Do you want to know one of the coolest parts of the quilt? What? This block right here represents our family.
You mean our family was a part of the lawsuit too? That's so cool.
As far as Thurgood Marshall, I remember, them having discussions about what was happening at that time. My mom was very instrumental in the NAACP activities. She would man the phones at voting time to make sure that they were calling people around the neighborhood to make sure they had a ride to go vote. She actually was going to one of the marches with Martin Luther King. One of the younger brothers was with her, and they had a car wreck with some other people that they were riding with. They didn't get hurt bad, but they didn't get to make the trip because of the car wreck. But they were actually on their way to DC to march with Reverend Martin Luther King there. So she was really instrumental in that kind of thing.
My Uncle John was my mother's brother. He was third in line. As a child, Uncle John would go and hunt with his cousin Matthew. Granddaddy told him never to go hunting without the tongue in his shoe. And that day he went without it, and a copperhead bit him on top of his foot. Matthew carried him on his back the 4 miles from off of Door Highway to Dr. Corbin off of Main Street, and Dr. Corbin gave him a serum. Then Matthew put him on his back and carried him all the way back to the mountain. And a lady in the mountain they called the root doctor, and she told him to go and cut up a chicken and lay that chicken on his foot, and it drew out all of this green stuff. And he recovered from that.
Just knowing that my granddaddy's hard work is in different bridges throughout the state of Virginia.
Like the one in Chesapeake, the one at New River Valley going through
Clayton Lake.
Yeah, Clayton Lake to Rafford.
What kind of cakes did she make?
Coconut cakes, pound cakes, chocolate cakes.
Red velvet, German chocolate, strawberry shortcake. Everything was from scratch.
There is a picture on the quilt that includes myself, my mother, my grandmother, Jean, and my great-grandmother, Ossie, or also known as Big Mama to us. So I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with all 3 of them, actually, specifically my great-grandmother and my grandmother.
We found a paper from the 30s, 1937, where they were trying to raise the general rate wage from 40 cents an hour to 80 cents an hour. Do you believe that? People were working for 40 cents an hour.
Well, we lived in an integrated neighborhood and did not know it.
Till our government
told us.
I am one of the members of one of the 23 plaintiffs in the case, Corbin versus Pulaski County School Board. The quirkiness of this is that obviously the case was handled by the NAACP. And so here I am, about 80 years later, serving as the chair of the NAACP National Board of Directors after my grandfather, Henry Dyer, was one of the guys who decided it's time to sue Pulaski County for equalization of schools.
Why should people care about something that happened 80 years ago?
Because if 80 years ago hadn't happened, today would not be here. For many or most, if not all of us, especially if you're African American, and because it's such a broad sweep and spectrum of inclusion, a lot of people would not be where they are today.
If you don't take a look back at some of these things, and obviously there are laws in place now that as American citizens, we would obviously protest. If we just continue to reflect and look back and remember what was fought for, this is a moral issue. Like, there should be equal rights for everyone.
The way that the government is going now, trying to cut back, the education plans and all that, we may have to go down that road again. Be an advocate for the students to keep their education at bay. It's very important because back then there wasn't a whole lot that you could do. But today, we have other options that we can take.
Life right now is still in the bind. We still ain't learned how to get together yet.
It may have been 80 years ago, but when you really break what's happening now down, the changes that were fought for in previous years, 80 years ago, are issues that are still current and present today. People are being denied access. The thought of books being pulled off the shelves because of content is just appalling to me.
We tend to repeat things when we try to cover them up or not acknowledge the importance and why they were important.
We're recognizing what happened. That brings strength and that brings resolution. That lets others know that when you speak up, when you speak out, you stand for what is right, that you obtain the appropriate results.
As my parents always said, if education weren't so important, why did they work so hard to keep it from us?
That's why we have books. That's why they teach us things, so we can learn not to keep making the same mistakes.
We need the truth about, the good and the bad together, so that we can learn from it to be better.
We are living in a time when there's real pressure to whitewash our nation's history, especially the painful parts about slavery, segregation, and oppression. While I understand the impulse to shield children from pain, the danger is this. When we don't teach the hard history, we also don't get to teach about the everyday heroes who resisted. Without those stories that are relatable and rooted in community, how do we inspire the next generation of leaders? How do we build a better future?
Sometimes you can control the narrative, not necessarily by what you teach, but what you choose not to. And I feel like for a very long time, there were conscious and active decisions that skipped over the Black American story or barely skimmed on it. And it's such a rich culture because Black history is American.
History likes to portray African Americans during this time period, before the Civil Rights Movement, that is, of not being very courageous and just being submissive. However, that shows they were not, that they showed courage, and that more people should have such courage.
For me, it's a time to remind people, quite frankly, that the struggle continues, that there is work yet to be done, that we are dealing with challenges, not just the fact that there are people in power who want to roll back, it appears, the progress that was made in the last 80 years. Those of us who are part of the civil rights movement would say, we have to keep moving forward.
We started out with pieces of paper, and we've told a story, and we're telling it in so many different ways. And not only, it's one thing to have knowledge, and it's another thing with what you do with that knowledge. They say it's power, but it's not power unless you take it and do something with it. So we have done something with the knowledge. It's become something beautiful that we can share with other people and hopefully continue to let the legends grow.
Word of the quilt and the 2354 project is gaining momentum and people are hearing about it. The digital project site enables more people to actually learn what the quilt is about. We get to learn about each of the 23 families, how they were ordinary and also how they're extraordinary. The way our site is designed, where the actual quilt is presented, a viewer, a researcher, or someone just curious can go to a square of the quilt where a family is, hover over it, click on that quilt, and then information about the family becomes present to them. And then there are little stories inside the story of the family. There are different things that are highlight each family and all. And I just love that design.
When my father went to Tuskegee, he was tested, and he went in as a 9th grader, skipped 10th grade, which proved that the teachers here in Pulaski were very strong. Later, my mother came, and when she entered Tuskegee, they said, where is this place called Pulaski? Because we have another student here, and he's really smart. He skipped a grade. So when they said that, she said, well, he had the same teachers as I had, and if he skipped a grade, I'll skip a grade. And sure enough, she did. And they said, well, I'm just wondering, where is this place called Pulaski? He said, it's on the map. One day you'll find out. I think this project is on the map, and it's proven where Pulaski really is from its history.
Gonna know their names, gonna say their names. We'll say Corbin, we'll say Garner, we'll say Save Right, we'll say Garner, we'll say Martin, we'll say Austin, we'll say Thomas, we'll say Johnson, we'll say Slaughter, we'll say Hunt, we'll say Montgomery, we'll say Stigger, we'll say Dyer, we'll say Holt and Finley, we'll say Murphy, we'll say Peoples, we'll say Muse, we'll say Smith, we'll say Holmes, we'll say Trueheart, we'll say Brown, we'll say Red. The 23 and 54. There's something going on down in Pulaski, over at the Calfee School. Folks got to talking, and they started asking if we all see that this is wrong. Can we all agree that the time for change is good? 23 families and 54 children risked it all to bring their case. They faithfully challenged Pulaski County in the fall of '48. And from now on, history will know their name. Gonna know their name. Gonna know their name. Gonna say their name. We'll say Corbin. We'll say Garner. We'll say Save Right. We'll say Garner, we'll say Martin, we'll say Austin, we'll say Thomas, we'll say Johnson, we'll say Slaughter, we'll say Hunt, we'll say Montgomery, we'll say Stigger, we'll say Dyer, we'll say Holt and Finley, We'll say Murphy, we'll say Peoples, we'll say Muse, we'll say Smith, we'll say Holmes, we'll say Trueheart, we'll say Brown, we'll say Red. The 23 and 54. Blaze a trail for so many more. They knew the time had come to fight for change. And from now on, history will know their names. Gonna know their names. Gonna know their names. Gonna know their names.
In May of 1951, Mr. Hill and Mr. Robinson were en route to Pulaski County, where they planned to file a motion requesting desegregation of the local schools. And they were acting there on behalf of 24 parents and their children, some of whom we are honored to have with us, who were involved in the original Pulaski school case. A press release that I came across from the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP noted that elementary school facilities for Black children in the county were vastly inferior to white schools, and that the county, in defiance of the 1949 Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling, still operated no Black high school within the county. On the way to Pulaski that day, Mr. Hill and Mr. Robinson stopped off in Farmville to meet with students who had staged a walkout a couple of days earlier, led by 16-year-old Barbara Rose Johns at the R.R. Moten School there, of course. The lawyers had no intention of filing a desegregation case in their rural outposts. They figured that was one of the worst places they could do it. They did not want to be in a rural community that in which white control was so extreme. But they were so impressed by the students' resolve that they changed their minds. And as you know, that then a month or so later, they filed the court case that became part of Brown v. Board. There was an NAACP press release at the time that linked the Pulaski and Prince Edward County cases. It observed that the pair of cases gave the lie to the claim of Virginia Congressman and former Governor William Tuck, who had said prominently that, quote, the Negroes of my state are satisfied with segregation. And so the NAACP pointed to you, to your community, and to what was happening in Farmville, and saying this is proof that that is not true.